Hello, everyone. My name is Oluwadamilola Ojo. You can also call me Lara Ojo. You are welcome to a new episode of the Movement Disorder Society's Women in Leadership Spotlight series. This is a series that aims to interview women who have distinguished themselves in the field of movement disorders and highlight their careers as well as their achievements. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome and interview Dr. Susan Fox. Dr. Fox is Professor of Neurology, University of Toronto, Head of the Division of Neurology, University Health Network, and she holds the Krembil Family Chair of Neurology. She is chair of the Pan-American section of the International Parkinson and Movement Disorder Society and past chair of the Evidence-Based Medicine Committee. Her research interests are in preclinical models of Parkinson's disease and translational studies of novel pharmacologic therapies for Parkinson's disease and other movement disorders such as dystonias. She has published widely in the field and is a regular speaker at national and international conferences. Dr. Fox, thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed today. You are welcome to the session.
My pleasure.
Kick the session off, you're welcome. Can you walk us through the highlights of your career as a neurologist and a movement disorder specialist? What will you consider as your major milestones?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you again for inviting me to participate. I think this is a wonderful series and hopefully people can learn from this. I'm sure I will learn listening to other women leaders in the Movement Disorder Society. In terms of my career highlights, I really do feel that working within the Movement Disorder Society is definitely one of the biggest achievements and highlights of my career. And I think it has really helped me in my academic work and career outside of the society, particularly working through in the Evidence-Based Medicine Committee. I think that was really an amazing opportunity and taught me a lot. It taught me leadership skills. There was a lot of work involved and managing a lot of people across the world to come together to achieve the work that we did. And I think that was a very good learning experience for me. I think I've enjoyed in my career being a fellowship director. One of the jobs I've particularly enjoyed is mentoring fellows within our clinic. We've had fellows for many, many years now, and it's wonderful to see them develop and grow and go on and become leaders in their own institutions and countries. And I think I always feel a sense of pride in having helped them, hopefully, to get on to the next stage of their careers. And I think the other big achievements and things that I've really enjoyed doing, I'm now the division head of neurology, and I think again seeing members of my division develop and become get promotion and enjoy just seeing their achievements, I think has also been another highlight of my career.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Dr. Fox. What has been your experience as a woman in navigating the path as a leader in this field? So were there any challenges you encountered that you felt were peculiar to you on account of being a woman?
Right. Well, this is always a difficult question, challenging question.
Yes.
I think people face somewhat some challenges, I think, regardless of gender. I think earlier in my career, for sure. I mean, we're now in a better era, I think, where we're more aware that of equity and diversity. But certainly earlier on in my career, there were several hurdles and challenges that I experienced. And I think people of my generation probably all could attest to that and have experienced similar issues. I think the way that I managed it was really just simply to try and ignore things, speak to people who I could trust and could assist me if there were challenges. And I think this is common at any time, having a good mentor, someone you can talk to is incredibly important. And I found that's always been very helpful. So, you know, rising above any challenges, I think, is important as well. Keeping calm when everybody else around you is there's chaos around you. Yes, exactly. So I think that's always, I think, been my sort of process and way of coping with difficulties and challenges. More recently, I would say, I don't think I've experienced direct issues because of being a woman and in a leadership position. I think I'm very fortunate to work in an institution in a country where there are women leaders, and I think it certainly shows that we're in a different era. And I think that seeing women above me who have become leaders is always good as well. So it's in seeing people that have managed to get to the top, I always find is very inspiring. My way now of trying to help people is really, if women get asked to be leaders or take on positions of responsibility, I always try and encourage them, because if people can see that somebody has achieved that, then the next generation coming on can really see that that's something that they can achieve. And I think as women, we are beholden to the next generation to try and be role models and to try and show that it is possible. Many women always feel that they always have this sense of not being able to do the job, this sort of sense that they're not going to be able to manage it, that they're not good enough for the job. And I think we've probably all been there, and I think it's something that I always try and, when people talk to me about leadership roles, I always try and encourage people to, think a little bit if outside of your comfort zone and go ahead and really try and get into that position. And it's amazing how people excel, although they feel that they're not going to be able to do it. They may feel they don't have the skill set, but it's amazing how people undervalue their own abilities. And so I think that's something that I've learned to give that feedback to people, and as a way of trying to encourage people to go into positions of leadership or other, role model positions. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Fox. And for a while there, I felt you were talking to me directly, because sometimes I do get opportunities to get roles or to fit into positions. And the first thing I ask myself is, oh, are you well equipped for this? Oh, can you do this? But one thing that has kept me going on is the fact that there is someone I can talk to, and there is a mentor that is walking me through it. So thank you very much for that. So my next question is just a logical next step on that, and it has to do with tips for women in the field, and may even be applicable to other female leaders in other fields. And that is, do you have any tips for maintaining a work-life balance? I think
yeah, I think this is a very individual question. I think everybody's way of coping is very different. I think all I can really do is speak from how I manage personally. Whether that applies to other people is obviously, it depends on their circumstances. It depends, how many people you have at home that you've got to look after, how many other things you've got to do. But I do think the way that I manage is to carve out in each day a certain time where I'm going to do some exercise. This is very basic stuff, maybe half an hour I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to do some yoga, and I think for me that makes my day more focused, and I find that even that very short period of time just enables me to de-stress, step away from work for a short period of time. Years ago, I wouldn't do this, and I would be I would work through weekends. And I'm not sure that I necessarily achieved as much, but it's sort of that sort of mindset that you've got to keep on working all the time. And it's not healthy all of the time. We have to strike, as you said, that work-life balance. And so, as I said, I think carving out a little bit of time in the day for exercise for me is the way that I manage it. I also try and take some time at the weekends when I'm really not necessarily doing work or thinking about work. I think to completely switch off is important. We're on a 24/7 now with our phones. Everybody can get hold of us all of the time, and there's always that feeling you've got to respond all the time. And I think it's good actually at some point just to switch your phone off, switch things off for a few hours. And I think that to me is the way to sort of manage it in a small way. The other bigger ways are, it's important earlier on in your careers, I think, to say yes to things and take things on. But I think over time, you also need to learn to say no to things that perhaps are maybe less important to you. But as I said, early on in your careers, in people's careers, I always encourage people to be positive and say yes. If it doesn't work out, if it becomes too much for somebody to do something, then they can always step back. But then ultimately being careful about saying yes too much is the opposite side. And so, as I said, learning to say no is also equally important. I think asking for help, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if things are really getting too much for you, find somebody, an ally, a mentor, a friend, a colleague who you can talk to. And ask them to look at it from the outside. So an external perspective on what you're doing is often important as well. So those are sort of general strategies that I would say to try and get that work-life balance. But as I said, it's very individual in terms of what people's life and their general setup is.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. One thing I picked out of it is just carving out me time.
That's
whatever
right.
Whatever you do with your me time is up to you. So
exactly.
Thank you very much for that. So I'm very sure many women in movement disorders, neurology, and other careers will appreciate what you just said. Trying to wrap things up now, what's the biggest piece of advice for women who are either already pursuing a career in movement disorders or who intend to pursue a career in movement disorders? So what is the one thing you wish someone had told you at the beginning of your career? Or if you could go back in time, what would you tell the younger Dr. Fox at the beginning?
Wow, yes. That's another tough question to answer, yeah. I think listening to mentorship, I think, is so important. And perhaps earlier on in my career, I would have benefited more from mentorship, and maybe I didn't explore that opportunity enough, or maybe it wasn't available to me. I don't know. Perhaps when I was younger, well, I think in general, when we're younger, it's harder to sort of step up and say something that you've maybe express a need for something, that because you may not even know that you need that thing. So I think that's why having a mentor right from the early stage of any career, I think, is important, whether it's movement disorders or anything. So I think that probably, thinking back, would have been probably something I would have perhaps explored or asked for more. In terms of movement disorders specifically, I think the Movement Disorder Society, I have to say, is really, if there's one thing I think I could encourage people, it's to take part, be active within the society. I think it has so many opportunities, and they're just continuing. And so I really think that would be my one recommendation for anybody with an interest in a career in movement disorders. I think, yeah, take advantage of this MDS. I think it's such a wonderful organization, and I think it's really helped me in my career, and hopefully will continue to help many other people in their careers.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Fox, for your time and for sharing with us a glimpse of your illustrious career. I believe many members of the MDS, and particularly women, will find it very inspiring. Thank you once again.
My pleasure. Thank you.